Hey guys, what's up? This is Morgan from MorganLett Insights and welcome back to the channel. I am super excited to bring you guys this week's weekly astrology forecast for November 9th through November 15th. This is a busy week. We are in new moon week. We will see the new moon in Scorpio on November 15th. Some other quick important aspects this week is we are going to see a Venus and Mars opposition on November 9th. We're going to see a Sun trine Neptune experience on November 10th. Mercury will be moving into Scorpio on November 10th, where it will remain until it moves into Sagittarius on December 1st. Another thing that's happening this week that you have probably heard a lot about if you are an astro fan or a student or an astrologer yourself, is the Jupiter and Pluto conjunction in Capricorn. This is a third Jupiter and Pluto conjunction that has occurred this year. We saw the first one in April, the second one in June, and the final one is occurring on November 12th. So this is big rebirth energy. The US is actually entering into its Pluto return. So this is an interesting period in terms of rebirth in every aspect of a lot of our lives, but especially the area of your chart, your house, and any planet that are in Capricorns in the last 5 to 7 degrees especially is very potent for you guys. So that last deacon energy of Capricorns, y'all are feeling this one. And then we also have on the 14th, the Sun in Scorpio is going to meet back up with Jupiter and Pluto and form some very supportive sextiles. So any type of, wherever you are transitioning, wherever you are starting over, there is a new beginning in your life, you're going to receive some support for that this weekend. So it's feeling very intense because there's like this death, this rebirth energy in whatever part of your chart rules Capricorn. But know that there's going to be some emotional support. There's going to be some assistance. Don't worry, whatever you are trying to rebuild, you are going to have the resources that you need. That is what Spirit is trying to say right now. I just couldn't get it out. So before I go any deeper, make sure you guys are checking out your written horoscopes. Those are free. I send them to the subscribers. If you are a part of the newsletter, it's a free subscription. You can just go to the website, put in your email address, and you're there, and you'll get them to your email, so you don't have to go to the website. But if you want to, you still can. They're interesting. It goes deeper. If you're someone who likes to read, you'll really enjoy the breakdown that I give in the weekly horoscopes. It also gives you some messages for the signs that are a little bit different but similar to the ones that are in the video. So that's just a quick little insert right there before we dive deeper into these aspects. Let's go. So the first thing that we're going to talk about this week, guys, is the Venus and Mars opposition. So anytime we're talking about Venus in astrology, we are talking about our relationships, we're talking about our money, we are talking about what we desire, what we want, how we find value, how we find worth in ourselves and in other people. That's what we're doing when we're talking about Venus. And most of the time it comes through what we have, what we own, what we look like, what we feel like. A lot of that is coming through Venus because Venus in traditional astrology rules Taurus and Libra. So think about those two signs anytime you want to think about the energy of Venus. But when we talk about Mars, Mars is going to be the planet of action, of willpower. It's how we assert ourselves, how we go about initiating things, how we behave, our habits, how we respond. Our impulses come through Mars's energy, how we act out the impulses that come through Pluto. And Jupiter and the Sun, really, and even the moon, all the planets, y'all. Everything is expressed through Mars. And so that is the energy that we're dealing with. Venus is in Libra. So Venus is in its home sign. Venus in Libra really resonates with the energies of relationships. So our desires right now, our wants right now, what we are really focusing our energy on in terms of what we are trying to acquire is dealing with a relationship. People are very relationship minded right now. If you're single, you might be feeling lonely, or you might be dating. If you're in a relationship, you're thinking deeply about your partner, or relationship issues that you might be having. be having. So with Mars being in Aries, retrograde in Aries especially, this is a time where Mars is expressing itself through action, through individuality, to really getting clear about what your goals are, what your desires are, how you go about fulfilling those desires, how you go about fulfilling your wants, how you control your personal energy right now. What you have the most control over is what Mars is expressing. So this is all about channeling your fire, channeling your passion, channeling your aggression, learning how to channel those emotions into productivity, and learning how to slow down, and finding slowness and efficiency, and finding slowness and productivity, and finding slowness and ambition, and finding that you have this know-how to do what you are, and to be what you want. You have the know-how, you have the resources. And if you don't, this Mars and Aries energy is really encouraging you to start to research what it is that you need to acquire. If it's an asset, if it's a skill set, if it's a certain type of certification or a licensing, or if it's a relationship issue, do you need to learn how to, listen more? Are you holding old anger? All of these things like that are coming up with Mars retrograde in Aries. But when we talk about the Mars and Venus opposition, an opposition is anytime two planets are opposing one another. They're in opposite signs, in opposite houses. And so anytime we're dealing with opposites, we know opposite day, happy and sad, they don't really go together. But we have to learn how to at times be, sometimes you feel really happy. At the same time, you're still sad about something else. But that doesn't mean that you're not happy. It just means that you're sad about something else. And so the planets are the same way. Venus is in Libra. Venus wants to be in a relationship. Venus wants to focus on partnerships. Venus is very codependent, right? Venus can be independent, but Venus is independent with a partner, okay? Every Libra is always going to be in a relationship, always dealing with somebody, because it doesn't mean that Libra doesn't know how to be alone. Libra doesn't like to be alone. Libra does its best when Libra is bouncing its energy off of someone else. That's just how Libra is designed. So Mars is the opposite. Mars is very assertive. Mars is very independent. And so what Mars and Venus are trying to get you to understand, and the influences they're driving, is how we can really integrate those opposing energies, how we can create this level of interdependence within ourselves. So you don't have to be completely reliant on yourself. Who wants to be completely reliant on themselves? And when I say that, I'm not saying about finances or money. It just means nobody wants to be in a black hole somewhere by themselves for the rest of their life. The purpose right now is to really integrate and to socialize and to learn from one another, to share thoughts with one another, to share ideas and culture and beauty with one another. Libra wants to share. It's an air sign. So you're gonna have to learn how to work with other people. But at the same time, Libra can be very passive, and Aries can be very egotistic, where they're very into themselves, but they're all walk and no talk, or all bark and no bite, or whatever you want to call it. So this energy is also saying, yes, you need to learn how to be a people player, and how to integrate your desires and your wants based on your obligations and commitments to other people. But you also need to make sure that within yourself, you are actually doing what you say, that you are actually taking action on what you want, what you desire, what you promise people. You are actually taking up accountability for the things that you are responsible for. So it's all about making sure that you're going after what you want. And so for me, this energy is just being in alignment. You know what I'm saying? If you have an intention, do your best to do it. It also can say to some people you're taking too much on. So it's not even necessarily that you're lazy or you're unproductive or you're trying to intentionally miss a deadline. It means that you're saying yes too much. Libra can also be a people pleaser. So make sure that you're only taking on what you can actually accomplish, because that is what is going to give you the speed and the accomplishment and the recognition that comes with Mars and Aries, is you actually doing what you say. People are very I don't want to say secretive right now, but people are very into themselves and into their brands and wanting to really create from their well. You get what I'm saying? Everyone is wanting to be an entrepreneur now. And in some contexts, that's the way the world will always be, is we're creators in our own right, but we still have to learn how to work together. And that's what that Venus and Mars opposition is really coming in, is finding ways to still be an individual and go after your desires with other people, and making sure that you yourself are being faithful and being loyal and being honest with what you want and how you're going about fulfilling your own desires. Because not only is Libra a relationship to other people, but Libra is also the relationship to oneself. So making sure that you are being committed to your desires, that you are committing to your relationship with yourself, with your work, with what you are trying to accomplish and trying to achieve, is really important for this as well. On November 10th, Mercury is moving into Scorpio. So Mercury and Scorpio, I'm not going to do a big video on this because I'll talk about it later, especially on Patreon. Make sure you're joined, $10 a month, y'all. Mercury in Scorpio is about the insides of your mind, going deep, uncovering facts, researching things that you wouldn't technically research at any other time of the year. It's almost, for me, Mercury and Scorpio is when everything really starts to make sense, because that's when the pieces start to come together. For a lot of people, it's where things start to disintegrate, because anytime we bring Scorpio energy, it reveals. And so anytime something new is revealed, whatever was before that is naturally old, right? It naturally dies, because something else is, when you find something else, it doesn't matter. You get a new phone, you can keep your old phone, but you still have a new phone. Your new phone has still been upgraded. So technically the old phone is now the old phone. Does that make sense? And so that's how it is with Mercury and Scorpio. For me, it just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And whatever your focus is on, whatever your intention is on, is where it will expand. And it expands in a way that compounds. It's fixated. And so it doesn't come all at once. And so wherever Mercury is right now in Scorpio in your chart, that's where the focus of depth is going to be. That's where you really need to uncover and ask yourself what gems are already here. A lot of people are going to be thinking about, in terms of the main themes, sexuality is a main theme, but not just sexuality in terms of just like getting nasty. It's like what brings me pleasure, what brings me the most peace, what brings me the most sense of empowerment, what brings me the most sense of worth, of my self-identity, what brings me the most prosperity. And that's going to be where you're going to be focusing your interest on, what brings you the most pleasure. This is the time in your life where you can really dive deep into what really makes you feel full on a mental plane. Mentally, you're going to go there. And that's where Mercury in Scorpio is wherever house it falls in. It's going to go to the bottom of that house. It wants to know everything that encompasses that area of your life. And so for me, Scorpio really, it destroys, but it just expands for me, because every time you die, you're reborn. But the level of knowledge and ancestry is not lost. It's just evolved. It's acquired, right? You're acquiring. Every time you die, you acquire more wisdom. You acquire more experience. You acquire more strength. And so that's the energy that Scorpio brings me. Whatever you are focusing your mind, your mental energy on right now is going to strengthen and is going to go through this transition process of rebirth. On November 12th, we will see the Jupiter and Pluto conjunction. Again, this is the third time Jupiter and Pluto have met up. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. It's the planet of opportunity. It's the planet of fate and fortune. Pluto is the planet of destruction, of revival, of alchemy, of transition. Pluto shatters. It destroys so it can rebuild. Jupiter expands. It brings spotlight. It brings attention. It highlights so that you can grow. It's an area of opportunity. This is a death, right? This is pretty much an old opportunity is dying, an old belief. Jupiter also rules belief. It also deals with the higher principles, the higher consciousness. So there's this old belief system that is dying, this old way of evolving, old way of growing, old way. And it's coming through this sense of power, through this sense of capitalism, through this sense of patriarchy, this sense of greed. I have ownership, that people have ownership of other people, or people have ownership of other people's beliefs. This sense of whatever it is that limits you, that binds you, this sense of authority, this sense of governance, this sense of control and limitation is evolving. It is dying so that a much more liberated and a much more honest and accurate, a much more efficient, with Uranus and Taurus, is a much more sustainable way of growing and evolving. We'll see that in the next 6 years. The way that resources are allocated, the way that money is distributed, the way that wealth is distributed is going to change and this is not going to be immediate. This is a conjunction. So conjunctions are like intense. I don't know why people don't understand that. Conjunctions are intense. I don't really like them. I prefer an opposition than I do a conjunction, because for me a conjunction is like ground zero, and it's starting from the bottom. And so we're still in the death phase with this being a Pluto conjunction. And so this is a fresh death. And so we are literally at a culmination point of beginning again. And we're beginning again in the middle of an ascension process. So there's so many layers to it. And so that's why it's almost like it's so much resistance around it, because what is happening has to be sustainable. This is going to be the way of the next 40 years. The changes of power that take place now are going to have effects on us for like the next 30 or 40 years. So it's important. It's a huge importance right now in terms of our collective atmosphere. But I just want us to understand that this is just the beginning of this culmination process, not even just on a collective level on what's going on in the world, but this area of your life that is being activated right now with this Capricorn energy being so strong this year is being reborn, and it's radical, and it's going to take some time for you to even understand how all of these pieces are coming together. And you just need to be patient with yourself in that process as the pieces align when they are called to. So this inner resistance that you may be feeling to uncertainty, or this sense of anxiety that is rising, this sense of loss that is rising, these sense of I keep running into the same walls, just keep walking through them. And for somebody, it's almost like you need to turn in a completely new direction. Like, I almost don't even want to tell you to keep walking through them, because somebody like that's watching this video just needs to make a 360. And so if you feel like that's you, then it's you. Yeah. And then to close it off, the 14th and the 15th are really big days. On the 14th, we see the sun's sextiles with Jupiter and Pluto. I kind of already spoke on that. That's where we'll really start to see some support in the areas. So wherever the sun in Scorpio is in your chart, that is going to be what lends support. That house lends support to your house of Capricorn. So for instance, if the sun is in Scorpio in your second house, that means that Jupiter and Pluto are in your fourth house. That means that you are going to receive some sort of influx in income from a parent, from a mother, from a family member, or you may be lending some sort of support to a family member, or there may be some sort of improvement or support that happens within the home. Some furniture is delivered, a new asset is acquired, something that is within, that deals with your personal income, and someone in your family or your home is going to be the source of support in that. So just pay attention to where the sun is in Scorpio in your chart in comparison to where the outer planets are in Capricorn, and that's going to be where you're going to see this positive flow of energy. And then again on November 15th, we are going to have a new moon in Scorpio. This new moon in Scorpio is going to be in the later degrees, so it's pretty intense. We are in a transitional phase where we're like very aware of the growth that needs to be done. This is a very like high vibrating new moon, but it's going to be frictional just because of the squares with Venus and Pluto. It's not going to be fun. It's definitely going to be like a breakup energy. Some serious breakups happening this weekend, but we'll talk about that in the Scorpio new moon video. So make sure you're a Patreon so you get access to the new moon workshops that I'll be dropping this week. And I'll also be doing one specifically on Patreon for the Jupiter and Pluto conjunction, because that energy is important, and I want to help you unlock. So make sure that you are subscribed to the email. That way you can get notified. And again, the link to all of the things that you need are in the description. Let's get started with your zodiac signs. Okay, air signs, this week is going to require you to get busy. This week requires you to overcome some challenging obstacles. It's not going to be an easy week for air signs. So Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, there's a lot of work to do. Like, there's a lot of work to do. That's what I want to tell you. There's a lot of people who have you're being pulled in a lot of different areas, it feels like. And what's happening is you're getting the recognition and the reward that you deserve. And if it doesn't come this week, it's coming before Scorpio season ends. And it's not it's almost like a preliminary for the next 2 years. Like what's something, an opportunity, or a paycheck, or something that like you need to like give you an energy boost, to give you a confidence boost, to show you like, hey, you are walking on the right path, keep moving in this direction, is really going to come this week. But it's going to be challenging. Like, I just want you to know that it's a difficult week, but it's going to be positive in terms of giving you the strength that you need. Like, it's almost like you're being like, it's a test to show you like, hey, you can actually take on more than you think, or you're being shaped for a leadership position. It seems like whatever industry that you're in, or whatever career field that you're in, you are shaping up to be a leader in like the next wave. Like, not the wave that's current, like not the current leadership in that industry, but the next wave of leaders, you're going to be at the forefront of it. And so this energy feels really intense because it's really encouraging you to push yourself beyond your boundaries, because you're capable of more and the universe wants more for you. So there's like this feeling of sacrifice. So I want you to know that like, it's not going to be an easy week, but it's going to be a great and rewarding one. And so take that energy into consideration. Earth signs, you guys are in an interesting energy this week. You have a lot of changes. There's a lot of like financial changes. There's a lot of pressure on you to perform, but you're cool about it. Like, there's a very calm, leveled head on earth signs right now. They gives you the capacity to really create the lifestyle that you want. You're starting to see how things are really coming together. Things are compounding. Things are starting to fall into place. You do have to make a decision this week, especially about finances. Someone could be asking to borrow money. You could be borrowing money from someone else. You could be offered a new contract. You could be offered a new position. But some of you are really starting to think about your short-term goals and how they're starting to affect your long-term goals. And some of you are starting to see like if a certain venture, or if a certain decision or a certain move was actually worth the headaches or the challenges or the destruction that came with it. Like, a decision you made kind of like ended something else in your life. So you could have made a decision to move to a better location to make more money, right? But you could have in the end, severed a relationship with your family, or you could have chosen to stay in a situation and you felt like you should have gone, or there's some sort of like decision that you're trying to you're almost like going back and replaying some decisions that you've made in the past. And it's not like you're angry or you're upset about it. It's almost just like, how did I get here type of thing. And it's not even some of you might be like, how did I get here? But some of you are just kind of like, man, life is good. How did I get here? How did this happen? And so it encourages you to reflect. So I think a lot of you, it's a good vibe, or it's just a neutral vibe. You're just like, you're going with the flow. The Scorpio energy just kind of has you going with the motions. You're not really forcing. You're not really, flowing necessarily. You're just there. And for right now, earth signs energy, that feels good for you guys to just be in that middle zone. That silver lining is perfect for a lot of you. Water signs, you guys have overcome a lot, and this week's energy is finally starting to look up for you. So for starters, you're moving into, a lot of you are moving into this new moon energy. So this energy feels good. This energy is either conjunct or trine your rising or your water placements. So this is a positive feeling of ease, of flow, of kind of just knowing you're going in the right direction. You could be tempted with a lot. You could be tempted to feel blocked in. You could be tempted to fall into like old, very self-limiting patterns, like negative self-talk, like just being depressed, laying around, not getting things done. But a lot of you are learning how to move through your anxiety, and that helps your anxiety to pass because you're learning that it's just in your head. Yes, it's real. It's in your body. You feel it, but a lot of it originates in your head. And so a lot of things that used to tempt you, a lot of things that used to really throw you off balance or make you feel insecure or hold you back from really fulfilling your purpose are starting to dissolve. Not even necessarily, they're dissolving, they're breaking down, and it's opening you up. The more your fears dissolve, the more your anxieties dissolve, the more you start to accept and surrender to where you are rather than being so obsessed about where you feel like you should be. The more you open yourself and the more opportunities attract and come to you. And the more that you realize that they're already there, that you're already in an opportunity. So most water signs are in a great environment right now. I don't know what y'all's problem is, but a lot of y'all are in a really good environment. You're just like, you're comparing yourself way too much when you just need to focus on my own business. Okay? Mind your own business. Yeah, we'll leave that there. Fire signs, this is a really good week for y'all. A lot of y'all are like, need to move on though. Like fire signs are going through some relationship stuff. Love keep coming up for y'all. Maybe it's because it's Venus and Libra. And so you're like more passionate about your relationship. I don't know, but y'all are tripping right now, fire signs. Relax. Let it go, move on. If you're in a relationship and you and your significant other are having issues, you're being petty. It's petty. If you're not being petty, the situation is petty, or they're being petty, or it's so trivial that you can move past it. And so this is like testing your willpower of compassion, teaching you how to be less narcissistic. It doesn't always have to be your way. And if it's not your way, doesn't mean that it's less than. It can just be equally as great their way too. And so for some of you, compromising is so much easier than fighting right now. And you'll get to where you're going so much faster if you just compromise, but you don't want to. So you're just going to keep fighting, and you shouldn't have to. But this is a great period for anyone in terms of fire signs, to build something, to plant a seed that they really want to see watered in the next 12 months. So if you are super passionate about something, if you have been wanting to really try something new or experience something and you've been really afraid, this is a good time to put it in the ground and say, hey, I'm ready for this, so that when we get to the Sagittarius new moon, that fire energy, you've already worked through. You're using this new lunation cycle to work. You planted the seed. Let's say it like this. For me, when I see the new moon, it's like you plant the seed, and throughout the entire new moon cycle, so through the new moon to the full moon, for the full moon to the next new moon, you're giving it, you're just like, you're watering it, you're just getting it started. But it starts to ferment each lunar phase after that, like the seed grows. And so for me, we have typically 2 to 3 major lunations a month. So like you have a crazy garden right now because you're constantly growing new seeds, watering new seeds, growing new seeds, watering new seeds, growing new seeds, watering new seeds. And so for fire signs right now, that's what I see for you guys, is I think you've forgotten about a lot of the seeds that you've already planted. And this seed that you're planting now is going to sprout next month. So you have to start to get in that remembrance of things take time. That's something that fire signs need right now, is that things really do take time. So give yourself more patience. Give yourself an opportunity to let go, and make new space for new seeds, because your garden needs to you need to continuously plant new seeds. You can't plant and for 2, this is something too. I think fire signs right now are burning yourselves out. Like you're doing a lot and then you're just not doing anything, and you need to break it up. You need to not be so spurts, and be like spurts, So it becomes more and more consistent, and then you start to see results quicker, even though technically you're moving slower. But because you're working on compounding rather than accruing, you start to see yields, like good yields, sustainable yields, long-term yields, and you won't have to do as much. You won't always have to be starting over. You won't always have to feel like you're burning out, because you've already, like, it's passive. Passive income is going to be big for fire signs for the next 2 years. So pay attention. I love you guys. Like and subscribe. Peace.